Welcome to Street Art Unearthed, where we interview some of the world's most prolific artists to discuss what compels them to take their artworks to the streets and how they became the super street art icons that they are today. I'm your host, Stephanie O'Brien. As somewhat of a hyper-level street art fan, I have travelled 6 continents documenting the ever-evolving art form in some kind of attempt to immortalise whatever I encounter. Street Art Unearthed is an extension of that pursuit, where the art takes a bit of a backseat and we instead get inside the mind of the master creators that bring it to life. Thank you so much for joining us. Street Art Unearthed is brought to you by splatters.com, the online street art publication, where you can find street art news, artist interviews, and even downloadable maps on where to locate the best art in cities across the world. Check it out at splatters.com, splatters.com. On this episode, we're joined by Sophi Odling. Sophi is a talented street artist who hit the scene only 3 years ago and has been making waves ever since. In this short space of time, Sophi has been traveling the world, rapidly developing her style and bringing life to brand new humans who play a big role in inspiring her work. From an intense career in fashion to the freedom to follow her own inspiration, Sophi shares with us what the last few years have been like and gives some sage advice to new artists looking to take the plunge. Sophi Odling, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, how you going?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
It's good. You're in Sydney. How's life going there? Any signs of normality post-COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. With some restrictions lifting this week, it feels like it's all starting to slowly get back to normal, which is awesome.
That's nice. Are you able to go out? Do you usually go out?
Yeah, I feel like I have been pretty active in going out actually. Just I live in the city area, so it's quite easy just to sort of pop out. Yeah, and definitely since a couple of days ago, a lot more things are open, which is great, such as gyms and things like that. So that's good.
Yeah. And how was it for you? Were you going stir crazy with lockdown?
I was actually pretty lucky because, doing what we do with street art and stuff, it's pretty self-isolating. So I was actually already doing a massive project before COVID happened. And I just continued to work on that project throughout sort of the heaviest part of COVID. And then I had another job, which was just self-isolating again. So I was able to paint my way through, which was really lucky.
That's nice. Was that canvas work or working on walls but not with no one around you?
They were working on walls.
Nice. Very cool. Is that the big one that you've just completed?
Yeah, it was a really big one in Alexandria. So that took like 5 weeks. So
wow,
it was pretty good amount of time to spend up in a lift with no one around.
Wow. Gosh. Well, I would love to talk more about what that's like in a moment, but to do a bit of an introduction. So you have been in street art for sort of the last 3 years, and I think it's so exciting to talk to you because it's relatively new, that it's all kind of fresh, and we can delve into how it's been over those years and where you came from. But in those 3 years, you have managed to get murals up in Australia, America, Central America, Asia. You've done a solo show while you were pregnant. You were flown out to Nicaragua to paint a boutique hotel. You've done brand collaborations with OPI and Toyota. Is it OPI or OP?
I don't know. I always say OPI.
Okay, good. We're on the same page. And you've also done some really prominent festivals, including the Fringe Festival in Sydney and Art Basel in Miami. Busy.
Yeah, it's been pretty busy.
Yeah.
Actually, COVID's actually given me a bit of a break, which is nice. So it's teaching me to slow down a bit.
Yeah. Did you set out when you decided to get into painting murals that you just wanted to be as busy as possible, or it just kind of happened that way?
It kind of happened that way, I guess, thankfully. But I mean, me as a personality, I've just always been that kind of person anyway, that really throws herself into I throw myself into my work and just, yeah, pretty nonstop when I get going.
Very cool. Now, I really want to, learn how you got going. So you were working in fashion in 2016. You studied art, but then you went into the fashion industry. Where did it come from that? Had you had inklings throughout your fashion career that you might want to head into focusing on your art, or how did it all come about?
Yeah, so I was actually in fashion from 2004, for 14 years or so. No, that's
Wow.
wrong. Sorry.
That's 12.
Sorry, I was in fashion from like 2000 for 14 years. Yeah. And yeah, it was I was always an artist. Like I majored in art in high school. I studied at COFA in Paddington and majored in painting. But when I finished my degree, I just wasn't really ready to be an artist full time. And
You didn't want to, or you were worried to?
I just wanted to really develop skills in learning how to run a business. I'd also just casually started working in fashion when I was studying, and that was really something that attracted me. So I just kind of started going down that path and, sort of worked my way up in the fashion houses pretty quickly. So it kind of just developed as well. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I worked for different Australian fashion houses in the operations side and like national retail management side. So I learned a lot about business and different sort of facets of how it all works. And then while I was doing that, I still needed a creative outlet. So I was painting a little bit just on canvas works. And then I actually had a accessories label for about 3-4 years, which I launched when I was living in Tokyo.
What kind
so
of
that was my
accessories?
creative outlet. So they were like mainly handbags and men's overnight bags.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Was there did they have visual prints, or was it more the designing of the accessories themselves?
It was a bit of both. So I lived in Tokyo for 3 years.
Okay.
And while I was over there, I did a trip to Bali, where I met up with some old friends from my fashion days. And just kind of went back to that to start producing there. And, the design aspect was obviously something that really interested me. So I did that. And then from that also, I then started to develop my own prints and fabrics for linings and all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was very much on the side, which I was on. Yeah.
Okay. And so when was it that you had this feeling that you were going to get out of fashion and dive into your street art career?
Yeah, so I had my first Barb Hunter in 2014. So when I had her, it was kind of, it is life-changing.
I can imagine.
Your priorities change. When the fashion industry is pretty intense and, you're very dedicated to it and you work a lot of intense hours as well. And, she just became a priority for me, obviously. So I took a break, and then my husband is so amazing. He suggested that maybe this is the time that I can focus on my art. And so I did that. So in 2016, I decided to give it a year and really throw everything I could into it. And see where it led, and now here we are.
Wow. So what was the first step? How do you just decide to be a street artist and then actually do that?
Yeah, well, 2016 was the year for me where I really had to, being always artistic, but then really having to figure out what your style is, which is actually one of the most frustrating things, because everyone's always like, you got to distinct your style, that's who you'll be. And at that point, I hadn't been creating that much, and so it was really quite challenging to figure out, to actually step away from a commercial approach to things and actually just kind of really bring out the creativity. So kind of, I got a studio in St. Peter's, which was great, kind of got everything flowing. And then I went and did an artist residency in Thailand, in Chiang Mai.
Yeah,
and that
how
was
that?
really great. Oh, it was amazing. You know, being a mom and having a young child, it's very hard to have a lot of time to really kind of give all your attention to the creative development. You know, like when you've got a little kid, it's like, yeah, you might have an hour here or there, so it's very stop and start. So that artist residency gave me a lot of flow, which was great. And then while I was there, they had a wall there, and I was like, I want to paint that wall. So I was able to just paint it and have a play. And then that's kind of when I was like, you know what, I want to paint walls.
Okay. So what was the residency about? Is it a program to just help you to develop your style, or?
Well, I mean, there are so many residencies around the world. This particular one was linked with a school in the countryside of Chiang Mai.
Okay.
So the guy that ran the program, he was from England, and so there was the education aspects. I had to do some workshops with the kids,
Cool.
and then there was the self-development side where I could develop whatever kind of works that I wanted to and do research and things like that. So I did some canvas works, and I did the mural there, and then I which was also in collaboration with the art students there, so they helped me in it. But I walked away from there with completely refreshed. It was a 2-week residency, so it was very it was exactly what I needed to kind of clear my head from everyday life and really figure out where it is that I wanted to go.
Yeah, nice. And do you have a set style? Like, following your work, it sort of seems like you're not in a box. You do a lot of different things, which I think is awesome, very interesting to follow. Do you try to stay away from having something sort of very distinct, or do you, how has that developed for you?
It is, you know, because it is still so, you know, it's only been a few years.
Yeah.
You can see that my style isn't the same. I guess the only constant is really the vibrant colors that I do use.
Yeah.
The development of it has actually really been quite skill-based as well. So, for example, my first mural that I did technically was in Bondi. And that was done with all house paints and brush, and it took me 10 days in like 40-degree heat. It was,
oh my God,
pretty intense.
Was that the graffiti wall?
Sorry?
Was that the graffiti wall?
Yes, that's the graffiti wall. It's actually still there. It's down towards the pavilion, so it's been up there since then, which is pretty lucky.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
But since then, I was kind of like, I definitely don't want to do that again. So I wanted to learn how to use spray paint. And so from there, my next wall was like painting with some other artists in Marrickville, and I just kept learning and learning. So a lot of my earlier murals and street art is pretty geometric, and that's pretty much based on my skill set. So over the years, I've kind of learned how to use cans a lot better. So I've now been able to do different types of detailing and things like that.
Very cool. Does it sort of feel like, I don't know, you step up into woohoo street artist mode when you get the cans in your hand?
It's more actually the wall that does it for me.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's kind of weird to explain, but yeah, like when I see, you know, vacant walls and stuff, that's really exciting, you know.
Yeah.
And then obviously painting with cans, it feels great. It's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to play with.
Very cool. And so you came back to Australia after Chiang Mai, and then did you just go nuts putting in applications for festivals and different things?
Yeah, so when I came back, the first thing I did was the Bondi Wall, and then I got invited to paint in Kensington Street in Chippendale as part of the Chinese New Year. And that's where I was able to meet a lot of other artists actually, who some of them really helped me develop my skills. And yeah, it was great. It was really the first sort of group of artists that I'd actually gotten to meet since kind of taking the steps in this sort of direction. Yeah, so that was a big change for me, and it was great. And then I was introduced to Stay Fly Sydney, which is a community that supports female artists of all backgrounds and skills, so from street art to music and stuff.
What was the name again?
Stay Fly Sydney.
Stay Fly, nice.
Yeah, and they're like, oh my gosh, they're awesome. Like Irene, who runs it and stuff, like she just kind of is great in like introducing artists to opportunities and collaborations and stuff. So that was kind of where things started to roll, and got to meet people and play and stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then just things just started to kind of pop up. Like I did a lot of, you know, commission work and commercial work. I did this thing which was a part of Vivid Sydney in Chatswood for the Willoughby Visual Arts Biennale. That was a good project for me at the beginning. Like it was pushing the boundaries for me, and I was able to like do all kinds of things for it. So yeah.
You mentioned it was a big learning curve. What was the what was the challenge there?
It was a big challenge because so basically the artwork was set across this set of stairs. And it was pretty big. I can't remember how long it was. Maybe 20, 30 meters long. And quite high, but the challenge was, well, one, it was stairs, but also the application of it. They wanted me to basically create them as paste ups. So I had to spray paint these giant, like sort of 3 by 2 meter artworks that I'd created. So I spray painted those, and then I had to slice them up, and then I had to apply them to the front of the stairs using wheat paste, which I'd never done before.
Wow.
So it was a really big challenge. It was a lot of hard work and sweat and tears that was put into it. But you know, like I was happy with the end result, but I learned a lot of things from that process.
Yeah. I can imagine that's not the last time you're kind of learning on the job. I guess that's part of the process of diving into it. It would be, how do you feel now? Do you feel kind of like you've got most things under control, or are you still being quite challenged?
I think learning curves in sense of not only like the creative process, but also like dealing with clients and counsel and things like that, and unrealistic expectations of you as an artist, you know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I've basically taken out of that experience and really kind of know my boundaries now of what kind of things are worth doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a writer by profession, and it's so funny when I'll take on some jobs and then learn while I'm doing it that I just can't do it, or I can, but it's just not something that fulfills me, and I find it so difficult because of that. So I wouldn't have guessed when I take on certain work that I would, really sort of struggle with it. Or there's others that, you take it on and you're like, wow, this is awesome. I love this. I thrive in this kind of work, but you just don't always know until you do it.
Well, absolutely, right. I mean, that's part of what's so great about, you know, being in the creative industry like that. Every project is different, you know. Yeah. So, but yeah, you're right. You never know until you do it.
Yeah. Which is part of the joy.
Yeah, totally.
And so you've done a lot of travel already as well in these 3 years. How have these things come about? Did you apply for these festivals? Last year I did a couple in America. One of them I was invited to for Miami, and then another Very cool. I had been chatting to the guy that's been organising it for a little bit, and then he invited me, I guess. Guess it was a bit of a chat application, but also invite. Okay.
But yeah, so that was great. So yeah, I've been to America a couple of times.
Sorry, you've been to America a couple of times.
yeah, last year, which was great. So it was kind of the idea that obviously before COVID that that would have continued this year. So yeah.
Yeah. Did you have anything that's been cut off or sort of put on pause because of COVID?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was supposed to be in America now or last month.
Oh.
So yeah, there's definitely things. And then I was going to go to Europe and stuff. So yeah, everything's kind of put on hold now.
Yep. So what's been the highlight in these last 3 years?
Yeah, look, definitely the traveling is great because I've always been a traveler anyway. So I've always drawn a lot of inspiration from that. So to be able to go and creatively contribute to areas during my travels is amazing. It's ideal, really.
Yeah, that's cool. And is that something that, when COVID is over, that you hope will continue?
Oh,
Do you
yeah,
go by
absolutely.
yourself or do you take the family?
I usually go by myself. When I went to Nicaragua, I took the family. I was also pregnant then, so yeah, it was
Wow.
it was a good trip. We kind of went through America and Nicaragua with Hunter, and yeah, it was good. She even helped me paint a little bit, which was nice.
Oh, that's special.
Yeah,
Now, that's a
yeah.
really fun story, the how you ended up going to Nicaragua. Can you tell us?
Yeah, it was pretty random. That was actually like in the first year, and
Really?
yeah, it was in 2017, like the end of the year,
Uh-huh.
and this guy had contacted me through Instagram, and I was like, oh, it sounds a little bit sketchy, I don't know, and then
Yeah,
and
fair
then
enough.
it sounds awful, but and then he emailed me, and I was like, okay, so then I kind of checked his stuff out on Instagram, and so basically it was this Canadian guy who had set up this boutique hotel in this little surf town in Nicaragua,
Uh-huh.
and he was flying between Canada and they're setting it up, so I could actually see that it was legit.
Yeah, okay.
And after a lot of umming and ahhing, I kind of just bit the bullet and went, let's just do it. So decided to go, and then left 4 days after that decision was made. And it
Wow.
was the best. I'm so glad I did it. It was such a great experience. We
Yeah.
were there for 2 weeks, and the guy like had vacated the place for me to just paint as I wanted to paint.
Oh, that's
Over
nice.
those 6 weeks, yeah. So that was
Wow.
fun.
So you had the whole hotel to yourself and free reign
Yeah,
to paint whatever you wanted.
yeah, it was great.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, and then he was planning on coming over, but then he got caught up in Canada. So I never
Uh-huh.
actually ever got to meet the guy.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
Oh my
yeah, it was a
goodness.
pretty crazy
It gets,
experience.
yeah, crazier and crazier. That's
Mm.
incredible. It's amazing how social media is this facilitator now that, I don't know, if you're just doing cool things, being persistent, people will notice and opportunities kind of present themselves.
Yeah, totally. I mean, social media for artists is just been amazing, right? For exposure.
Have you had any other situations like that where people have just reached out and got you to do something?
Yeah, I get a lot of inquiries through Instagram. Um, like nothing is as, sort of random as that one. But yeah, I do get a lot of work through it.
Yeah. And what was Art Basel like?
Oh, it was insane. It was so much
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, it was so nothing like I expected Miami to be.
What
I've
did you
been to Miami
expect?
before, but
Okay.
it just the whole city changes.
Okay.
Everything, like all the streets are locked off. It's like this one massive party, and it's just insane. Like it doesn't even feel like you're in America because there's just so many people there, and it's the streets are alive. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's very cool. How long does it
yeah.
go for?
I think it's a week, isn't it? A week or two max. Yeah, I
Wow.
think a week and a half or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went over for AWARS. I was invited to go over and paint, and what they do is they paint they take over schools basically,
Okay.
and they get all the artists to come in from everywhere, and you kind of take over the school, and just yeah, it's really cool, and you meet a lot of awesome artists and people, and all the galleries, and it's like the holy grail for artists.
Yeah, artist heaven.
Pretty
So
much.
nice. Do you get free reign on what you paint, or is it sort of controlled?
Yeah, no, pretty much. I mean, we did have to send in some concepts, but they were pretty easy about it. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to go back when the world's all normal again.
Yeah, yeah. And so what's been your favorite destination to paint in?
I definitely love painting around America because it's always a really interesting experience, and just the people you meet is just so much fun. But I think my funnest was we went to Hawaii last year,
Oh, beautiful. How
and
was that?
yeah, it was fun. But I through this American friend that artist friend, he introduced me to one of his friends in Hawaii, and he set up these like panels on this deserted beach, and we painted on the beach, and that
Oh,
was just so much fun. You know, it was
yeah.
just a fun thing to do, surrounded by Hawaiian mountains. It was insane,
Oh,
actually.
gorgeous.
Yeah, so that was nice.
Really nice.
Mm.
Beautiful. And so what was your project meant to be in Europe this year?
I was heading over anyway, but I had sort of lined up some things in Netherlands and London, but we'll just
Mm,
hopefully that will happen again at some stage, but we'll see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah,
I know.
it's such an annoying one. I've been in Europe for the last 5 years. I came back in December and I was meant to go back in May and now it's all
Oh,
on
wow.
pause. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's nice to be in Australia and talking to lovely people like yourself about street art. It's a really good opportunity to get more immersed into the street art scene here and work on splatters. But yeah, it's weird to be in this limbo period. It's
Yeah,
just,
totally.
yeah, it's a strange period. But so it's 3 years now. If you meet other people that are thinking of doing the same thing, what would you say to them? How would you kind of advise for people to take the plunge?
I would just say the thing that I found that worked best in terms of for me, not only during like my street art, but also when I was doing my label as well, is that there's a lot of different opinions out there, and it can make things very confusing for you, especially your creative process when people have a lot of input.
Yeah.
So my advice always is just go with your vision and what feels right for you, because then I've always found that I get the best results and the best reactions when I apply that to my work.
Staying true to yourself.
Totally, yeah,
Yeah.
because you can be you can get confused when you have a lot of noise and opinions coming in. So if you can stay true to
Yeah.
yourself, definitely.
Yeah.
I find that the rewards come best when you do that, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicer way to live as well. You mentioned that taking this transition, you're a much calmer human.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
I think they're intertwined, right? Like following your passion and doing things that connect with you instead of trying to fit in a box.
Yeah,
Stressful.
100%. Mm.
Nice. And so you did a solo show as well. What's that process like?
Yeah, so I did a solo show in 2018. It was a month before my second child, Phoenix, was born.
Wow.
It was
You're
running like a
just
deadline.
wild. Yeah. I'm so impressed.
Yeah,
Gosh.
deadlines is the best way to work for me. So yeah, I set that up, and yeah, so I created I think it was about 18 to 20 pieces. And I was in an extremely
Over how
maternal
long?
stage. Oh, how long it took me to create? I think I did it
Yeah.
over a few months.
Okay. Is that
Yeah.
a lot or? are there normal standards? I guess everyone would do things
I have
differently.
no idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just I work best under pressure.
Okay.
Definitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how did that come together? Did you just decide that you were going to do the solo show and set it all up yourself, or?
I had planned on doing it. I think I had planned on doing it while I was in Nicaragua, actually, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I did the original date that I had set it. I did push it back a couple of months, and then was really pretty much like, if I don't do it now, by the time I have the baby, it's just not going to happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
But no, it was great. It was a lot of portraits. Again, it was skill based at the time, so
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to use spray paint on canvas and really experiment with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to kind of bring what I had learned by painting walls onto canvas as well. So
Yeah.
I did a lot of stencil work and a lot of portraits.
Cool.
And it was called Kingdom Builders, and it was based on all these little human beings,
Mm-hmm.
and all these great things that they could be. So a lot of my
Beautiful.
friends sent me a lot of their kids for portraits and things like that. So that was nice.
Oh, that's really sweet, getting everyone involved.
Yeah.
I was talking to Anna Manolatos, who's her artist name is Sermano. She's a Brisbane-based artist, and she also she's a street artist and also a painter. And she said that it's a really kind of like an earthy experience to do the solo shows, and there's a lot of elements that just sort of bring in family and friends and that, which sort of makes it very special. But she also talks a lot about this, the self-doubt that creeps in, and kind of this U-shape effect to the excitement, and then the terrifying fear and self-doubt, and then the excitement again. Do you get that at all?
I don't know about the self-doubt. I think
Good on you.
I'm working. No, I mean, that sounds terrible.
No, it's not terrible.
there
That's
has to be.
incredible.
No, there has to be. Definitely, it would be there in part of the process, but maybe it's not something that I kind of grows too much for me.
Yeah, that's good. You're
I mean,
obviously
again,
on your
because I work
path.
so well under pressure, I pretty much just sort of bam everything out.
Yeah.
That maybe I don't even have time to think about it.
Yeah, well, very good. And so how was the show received?
Yeah, fantastic. It was really great. It was, I'm so glad I was able to do it, and yeah, had a great response, so that was nice.
Do you plan to do more?
Yeah, eventually. I've started over the past sort of few weeks doing some canvas work. I haven't done them since then, really. And
Okay.
yeah, my style's changed a lot now that things can slow down a little bit. I have so many ideas in my head that I've always wanted to experiment with and develop. So that's kind of what I'm starting to do slowly in the studio. So I am excited to see where that goes. And yeah.
What kind of style would you say you're in at the moment?
Now I would say that my style has now crossed between abstract and photorealism, and I'm really looking now at the balance of that and the direction that I want to balance that. So yeah, my last couple of murals kind of reflect that. I just want to take it a lot deeper. So
Yeah.
yeah, now's the time to play with it, because usually prior to COVID, it's just when you've got projects back to back, you just don't have time to play.
Yeah, very true. Important for the development.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. So what's next for you then? You working on your canvas stuff?
Yeah, the canvas stuff, and then actually once the borders open, I'm going to head up to Brisbane for Brisbane Street Art Festival, so I'm excited for that one.
Nice.
Be
I'll
nice to kind of
definitely
get
come
out.
and take your picture while you're painting and say hi.
Yay! Yeah, fantastic.
Do you have a date? Do you know yet? Or is it still on hold?
Still
Queensland's
confirming.
not really letting people in.
Yeah, no, right. But I think, because it's work, we can go up.
Yeah.
But at this stage, maybe July or
Okay.
August. Yeah.
Cool. And do you have an idea of what you're painting for them or where you're painting?
I can't remember the name of the place that I'm painting. But yeah,
can
I do
find
have an
it.
idea of where I am, of what I'm painting, sorry. Yeah, it'll be portraits and animals and a lot of botanicals and things.
Very cool. Where did you come up with the idea?
So, I mean, a lot of my inspiration is actually inspired by my kids. They always kind of make their way into it somehow. And this particular one will again be based on that.
Beautiful. Very nice. Where should people follow you to keep up to date with everything you're doing?
So Instagram's probably the best, obviously. So on Instagram, and it's just my name, Sophi Odling. So I should spell that.
Yeah, you can. I'll include the links, so no big.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, I would love to have more time with you, but we are running out of time, so we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
That was Sophi Odling. Thank you all so much for listening. Do make sure you follow Sophi on all of the socials and keep an eye out on the Brisbane Street Art Festival to see what she has in store for the city of Brisbane. As always, if you enjoyed the podcast, please be sure to subscribe or follow, and please do leave us a review. I really love to hear your feedback. I've been your host, Stephanie O'Brien, and this has been Street Art Unearthed by Splatters.